Mo, you're not going to be on tomorrow. What's up with that?
Well, Lindsay, as you know, it's that time of year. It is baseball season, and in baseball season, we split up the afternoon show on ESPN 1530, giving our audience a chance to play the Who's Gonna Be On Today game. You know, one of the things that a lot of radio companies do is invest a lot of time and a lot of money into research, and the one thing they have found is that for the most part, radio audiences love uncertainty. They love turning on the radio and having no idea what they're going to get. And so it is a great time for that segment of our audience. At the same time, there are some people who would like to be able to know who is going to be on a particular day, and I thought I would talk you through who's going to be on when. Now, for instance, tomorrow or today, depending on when you're watching this, Tuesday, April the 5th, Lance McAllister is going to be on the air. He's going to be on Tuesday and Wednesday because the Reds play a 7:10 game. That means this. Lance will be on from 3:04 to 6 o'clock on ESPN 1530, and then he'll be on from 6:06 to 6:40 on 700 WLW. I will be off. Now, I would suggest, for the purposes of this exercise, to get yourselves a Reds schedule. This is my handy-dandy Reds magnetic schedule, courtesy of PNC Bank. Now, let's say, for instance, the Reds play a 12:35 game. Well, that'll mean that Lance McAllister will be on from 6 to 9 on 700 WLW. I will be on from 3:04 to 6 on ESPN 1530. You'll have a tough choice to make for that first hour. Do I listen to the Reds or do I listen to Mo? I trust you'll make the right choice. Now, let's say, for instance, this Friday, the Reds have a 9:40 game against the Arizona Diamondbacks in Arizona. This means Lance McAllister will be on from 6:06 to 9:10 on 700 WLW, leaving me to fill the airwaves from 3:04 to 6 on ESPN 1530. Now, it's not that cut and dry. You're asking, Mo, what if the Reds don't play? Well, if the Reds don't play, I will be on from 3:04 to 6 o'clock on ESPN 1530, and Lance McAllister will be on from 6 to 9 on 700 WLW. Now, I've covered a large chunk of the season, but let's face it, there are games that air all over the clock. The Reds play in different time zones, different teams have different start times, so let's run through some of the scenarios. For instance, the Reds are going to play a 8 o'clock game in St. Louis. They're going to play at 8:15. What happens when the Reds play at 8:15? I'll be on from 3:04 to 6 o'clock on ESPN 1530. Lance McAllister will be on from 6 to 7:45 on 700 WLW. We'll continue. At the end of the month, the Reds will play an 8:10 game against the Milwaukee Brewers. When the Reds play an 8:10 game against the Milwaukee Brewers, I'll be on from 3:04 to 6 o'clock on ESPN 1530. Lance will be on from 6:06 to 7:40 on 700 WLW. For instance, here, speaking of Milwaukee, a 1:10 game like the one they have on April the 27th. When the Reds play at 1:10, I'll be on from 3:04 to 6 o'clock on ESPN 1530. Lance McAllister will be on from 6 to 9 o'clock on 700 WLW. There are other game times. For instance, a 2:05 game against the Houston Astros or a 2:20 game against the Chicago Cubs. Both happen in May. Lance McAllister will be on at night after those games on 700 WLW from the game's final out until 9 o'clock. I will be on from 3 until 6, 3:04 until 6 on ESPN 1530, giving Reds fans who also like me a huge dilemma. Mo, Reds. Mo, Reds. Do I go back and forth? Do I watch one and listen to the other? What do I do? I trust you'll make the right choice. Now, what about when the Reds go to Los Angeles and they've got a 10:10 game against the Los Angeles Dodgers? Well, in that case, I'll be on from 3:04 to 6 o'clock on ESPN 1530. Lance will be on from 6 until 9:40 on 700 WLW. Now, there are instances across the season where the Reds might play a 7:30 game. 7:30 kind of falls right in between a 7:10 game and an 8 o'clock game. Well, when the Reds play at 7:30, Lance McAllister will be on from 6 until 7 on 700 WLW. I will be on before him from 3:04 to 6 on ESPN 1530. What if Lance takes a day off and the Reds have a home game at 7:10? I will then be on from 3:04 to 6 on ESPN 1530. Then from 6 to 6:40 on 700 WLW. Now, what about those days where the Reds play a late game, but Lance still decides to take a day off? If that's the case, it often means a Mo doubleheader. Me from 3:04 to 6 o'clock on ESPN 1530. Lance will be off, so then I will do 6 to 9 o'clock, and maybe even later, depending on the time of the game, on 700 WLW. It is a really easy process to follow. All you need is this video, this schedule, and daily updates of the blog. Now, I often get asked, Mo, why do we do this? Gotta be honest with you, absolutely no idea. Mo, do you like this? Absolutely not. It is my preference. and I hope I don't get in trouble for saying this, I actually would like to work more. I'd like to be on every day on ESPN 1530. I don't know why we do this the way we do. I still end up being on 67 times as opposed to Lance's 62 during the baseball season, and of course, all the time from September until early April on ESPN 1530. And so I guess you could say it works out my way. It's not the way I want it to work, but I don't make the rules. I hope this has been handy. I hope you revisit this often during the season, and it might help you determine who's going to be on a given day on both ESPN 1530 and on 700 WLW. Email me your thoughts, mo@ESPN1530.com, or tweet me at moegger1530.